Hello, everybody. This is Marco from TMS First Choice. Today we have a very, very special guest, Dr. Adel Marei from Egypt and the owner of Brains Clinic. He is probably one of the most influential TMS people in the world. I would always like to place him between the first five most knowledgeable people about TMS. And I'm really honored to have him today because I want him to answer the questions which I'm sure many of the prospects and even past patients are interested to hear. The whole reason of our existence and the existence of this channel is to raise the awareness of TMS therapy so that not only the medication is the option to get a very good treatment. I really hope you will enjoy this. So let's start with Dr. Adel. My first question is, can you please explain to us what is TMS?
All right, Marco. So TMS is basically a form of magnetic stimulation, which is a daughter of something called pulse electromagnetic fields, PEMF. There's a lot of word about PMF. So if you really want to understand what TMS is about, you need to read into PMF because there are, again, animal studies and everything we do has already been done. So TMS is basically using a machine that generates magnetic fields. And these magnetic fields, we know for a fact that they affect our body. How could we explain this to normal people? Why do we use MRIs, right? We all use MRIs, and MRIs uses magnetic fields. Magnetic fields changes the physiological state of cells. So by giving cells magnetic field, each cell has its own signature in releasing that magnetic field, and thus we can differentiate between different cells.
Okay,
Right?
makes
So-
sense. So if I understood, if I understood you well, so TMS is basically the stimulation using a magnetic field, and we are stimulating the neurons, right? The nerve cells in our brain, so that they work in a different level. So essentially, it's neuromodulation technology, right?
Yes. So TMS again there's a lot of things that we can say. Like TMS is basically using the magnetic field to stimulate the head. Right? That's why it's called transcranial. Cranium is the vault or the skull, right? Now, TMS machines are also used for, like you said, neurons, peripheral neurons. We could stimulate nerves. The good thing about that is that it is less painful than stimulating with electricity in the periphery.
I guess people are more familiar with ECT, right? Because it used to be very popular in like 80s, 90s, maybe even now, right? Doctor,
Well,
correct me if I'm wrong.
ECTs are kind of different
Okay.
because if you would shock someone with a lot, like who's not under anesthesia, with electricity, you're probably going to mess up things more. You can induce real seizures.
Okay.
It's very painful, and
And it's invasive, right?
it's invasive when it comes to the anesthesia part
Okay.
and the intubation.
Okay.
But other than that, it's non-invasive.
Okay, so we're gonna stick to TMS. I just use ECT as a comparison. I know that it's a much more radical thing and causes there's possibility for so many different side effects, right?
Yes.
So TMS is using magnetic field, which is painless. We don't feel them, right? We don't actually see any reaction at the moment, and that's what is important to understand.
Yes.
Now, how would you describe what's happening? How would you describe one TMS session? Let's start from there, and then we're gonna. My whole goal is to understand how it looks like, and then what's happening in the brain during the TMS session.
So basically, in the first session, what we do, we try to determine what is called the motor threshold, which is basically locating the brain site, which controls either the right hand or left hand, depending on who's right-handed and who's left-handed.
Okay.
By knowing if a person is right-handed or left-handed, we know which hemisphere of the brain is more dominant. Okay.
Okay.
So why is that important? Because if you stimulate a non-dominant hemisphere, the reaction will be much higher than the dominant hemisphere.
Makes sense, right?
Okay. Um, so that's basically what we do. There are so many different ways of locating the motor cortex.
Mhm.
You can do it via calculations. You can do it amazingly, and this is a trick we should film because I could actually get a person's motor cortex blindfolded, right?
I guess based on experience, right?
Exactly,
Yes.
right? And some science, like a lot of science. And another way we could do that is by using the neuroimaging from functional MRIs and neuronavigation systems.
Okay.
One of the more used systems is the 1020 system that is based off of the EEG. So the EEG, we have numbers and we have letters. These numbers and letters correspond to specific brain areas.
Mm-hmm.
So if we are going to say we're going to target the C3 and C4, these are the motor cortex correspondence to that measurement system.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So we use that system. The question was actually how we start the treatment. So as you just explained. So first we do motor threshold, right?
Yes.
Which is essentially the value of intensity, the intensity of the therapy at which that person reacts.
His hand reacts. Exactly.
His hand. Okay. But that's the number which we're going to use for the future therapy, right?
So that's what we call the motor threshold.
Okay.
Okay, because there are a lot of calculations in different ways that like again we talked about this. Motor threshold has different ways of doing it too.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the observed motor threshold, and it's observed resting motor threshold,
Okay.
which is the FDA approved way of doing it. So if the patient is anxious and you're doing your motor threshold,
It affects the value, right?
it affects the value. Exactly.
Okay. So I'm not trying to confuse anything with the science. We are basically talking to the potential patients who are thinking about TMS therapy as an option to feel better, right, and to lower their symptoms. So okay, we have motor threshold, we have those numbers, and then what is happening? What's the next step?
Now, the next step, we need to know what kind of disorder we're dealing with. If we're talking about depression, there are two major areas that we know from functional MRI studies that are affected:
Mm-hmm.
the right side and the left side. If we're going to talk about the 1020 system, F3 and F4.
Okay, those are locations.
Yes, right and
on the brain,
left, right? And they are the areas just in front of the hand area, right?
Okay.
Because this is clinically, while you're doing the session, if you are stimulating the target areas for treatment of depression,
Okay.
and you have a hand movement, you need to move the coil forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what happens in depression? On the left side, hypofunction is the major thing that we saw. What does that mean? The cells don't function the way they should.
Okay.
They are working at a lower level than they should. And that would in turn decrease the serotonin, dopamine, and all these substrates. So what we do is we use high frequencies on the left side. The frequencies that, to tell you the truth, I started this back in 2011, 2012. The frequency that I used that actually worked back then was the 5 pulses per second, right? So, and here's something that is very, people usually don't know that. You can actually get benefits at 80% of motor threshold.
Okay, so I know that you're doing TMS in Egypt for a very long time and in the whole region, right? You have many TMS units, and I know that you live in New York for a couple of years, right? And you also have partners there to work with them. And I know that you have a very good partner here in Chicago area,
Yeah.
which is our Hope Treatment, and I was able to see the miracles which you did. And it's worth of noting that um, the things which are done in the world and comparing to United States, what is FDA approved here, it's a different story. Which brings us to the next topic, which is something which is FDA approved and what something which is off label. If you do a little bit of research, everybody can find out that here in United States, the gold standard for TMS is depression. So depression is probably it's used for depression in most cases. Recently, we have OCD. It's not that popular, but it comes. It's becoming. Then we have for pain management, but it's still not approved. So if we focus on depression and OCD, let's say for this time, we will also have a section where we're going to talk about what else can we do with the TMS machine. And I was actually super surprised what we can do with that. So let's focus on depression.
Okay.
So for the depression, exactly what you said. So we will target the area which is called F3, right? So it's like this side around there, and the stimulation on that side it's going to be higher frequency because for some reason depression brings passive areas of the brain, right? The path in the brain, they become forgotten or whatever happens. And stimulating that area with a higher frequency gives results. Can you elaborate that a little bit?
Okay, so if you want to like run faster, what do? You just increase your
Push
pace,
yourself,
right?
yes. Yeah.
So that was what TMS actually does. TMS can actually increase your pace, decrease your pace, right? By using different frequencies. So why does it work? That is a major question. One of the things that magnetic fields in general create in the body is increased blood flow and oxygen consumption rate. So if you increase blood flow and oxygen consumption rate, that means your healing is better, right?
Yeah.
So having said that, one of the mechanisms why TMS works is because that area is not functioning well. So we give it high pulse rate, so it speeds up. Plus, we give it the nutrients, which is the oxygen is the major thing that the brain needs because after 5 minutes, you're brain dead, right? So you give it oxygen and you increase the blood flow in that stimulated area, so healing is better.
Okay.
Now, there are a lot of theories why this healing occurs.
Let's stick to the basics and not go too much into
Okay.
science. But okay, so we understand we are basically stimulating brain cells to work in a faster way, actually in a very good way, in an optimal way. But beside that, there is some healing there. There is oxygen there, where of course helps with even like medication, the reaction of
Absorption,
medications,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's-
so I'm going to jump to a different topic for a second. So when we say depression, we're mostly interested in depression at this time of this conversation because most of the people actually are planning to use TMS for depression. So depression, it's not one thing; it's a spectrum. That's how I see it. The spectrum of symptoms. Usually, what I hear is I'm I have fatigue. I don't have energy. My sleep hygiene is bad. I don't have motivation. That's a big one.
Yes.
Motivation is a big one. Socialization is a big one, which means they just don't have a will to go out and socialize with people. It's painful for whichever reason is. When I was searching for the best uh, definition, what the depression is, I came to the conclusion that inability to enjoy the things which you usually would enjoy, and I really like that. That's very self-explanatory. Now, when we talk about those symptoms in depression, which I just mentioned, uh, is TMS actually addressing all of them, or we are seeing that after some time, you like the question, that after some time, TMS can work better for a couple of them, but then again doesn't work for some of them. I would like to know in which areas TMS for depression is the most effective.
Okay, so We have not published this yet, but people usually say
Oh,
patients sleep better on the first day. So if you sleep better, that means your body has time to fix itself. It's simple as that,
okay.
right? So one
I'm
of the
following.
things that people would say, a majority of them, I would say at least 70%, they would say, we slept better. We felt tired and we went to bed and we slept like a baby. Next day, you wake up refreshed. So some people could experience literally an overnight change just because of better sleep. Now, we know that when we treat people with antidepressants who have like sluggish movement and all that, and their facial expressions are really dull or dark, TMS actually helps with that too. Within
Okay.
the, I would say within 4 or 5 days, it should, like, you will be smiling a little bit more,
Okay. I see
Okay.
where you're going.
right? Now, what other, enjoying things that people, like things, we call it anhedonia, which is things that I don't, nothing is pleasurable anymore,
Okay.
right? So that, with some modification of lifestyle, it could come within the first 10 days.
Okay.
Okay, what modifications is to start low and go slow. What does that mean? Things that I really liked doing previously, I will only choose one and I will try it every day in a way that would potentiate my therapy. Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah. So again, TMS is, again, yeah, okay. So let's put it that way. The first study that, or the first notion that we got was 1/3 of patients are going to go into remission, 1/3 of patients are going to get some results, and 1/3 of patients will not get any results. That has been later, modified in a way that about 70 to 80% of patients get some sort of result. Either it's like positive results or remission.
Which is amazing considering that this is not a medication, right? This is a therapy which is more natural and it doesn't have long-term side effects at all, right? Sorry for interrupting.
It's all right. So here to actually make people understand more, TMS is like, we actually changed our TMS, the known abbreviation for repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation. Through our work, we saw that R is for not just for repetition, but we resynchronize the cells. So they're not functioning well, so we give them higher intensities,
Okay.
so they work as they should.
So it's like the boost of abilities, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so you can answer my question very detailed. I just want to summarize. I like to do that because I want to make sure that everybody understand that. So my question originally was which exactly symptoms TMS addresses, and you kind of answered to me that it goes one by one because really they depend one by one. So it's like building a house. You cannot start from the roof. You need to build the base, which is foundation. In this case, foundation should be sleep, right? So to get the energy. When you have an energy, that means that you can do some additional stuff, right? Maybe even feel better about yourself because you can put some effort in yourself,
True.
and then eventually that can lead to a will to go out and socialize. Okay, that
All right. So
right?
motivation,
Okay.
I was trying to sum up, because motivation is a sum of TMS
Okay.
and what you do.
Okay.
Right. So because you can't, there are, people can define where motivation is in the brain. It's for most of us, it's not really clear, but it's a combination of your actions, and that's why when people are depressed, they don't move that good, but when they get treatment, they move better. So although this area is, people know it as dedicated for mood, no, mood has effect on your immunity, on your emotion, on everything
Everything.
else.
Okay. Dr. Adel, one of the biggest concerns with when I talk with people and I talk on everyday basis, they're considering TMS as a therapy and as a solution to their problems, is, well, I will have something close to my head which is going to cause uh, uh, some shifts in my thinking. Am I going to lose my personality? Uh, so this brings us to side effects, and also by doing a research about those side effects, I see that there's a big discrepancy between what FDA reports as a possible side effects and what actually is happening in reality. The From what I have seen, and that is probably for the last 3.5 years, I saw about maybe 100 patients. Uh, I never had dizziness. I never had TMS causing migraines or stuff like that. The the most we got ever was light headache and fatigue. So over the time, we actually realize why there is light headache and why there is fatigue. Can you please elaborate that a little bit?
All right, so we need to differentiate between two things: serious side effects,
Oh yeah,
okay,
okay,
and serious side effects are usually because if it gets clearance, that means the machine is safe to use, right? So if it gets clearance, again, the machine is safe to use. So if you have a serious side effect that is of a high value, which is probably more than 5%, this machine will not be on the market. So when we talk
okay,
about serious side effects, you're usually talking about a decimal percentage. Like if we're talking about seizures, which everyone is like freaked out about, which I don't know why, but it's 0.01% even with psychiatric medication. That was published in a paper in 2015.
okay. So overall, you think there is no serious side effects from TMS if it's handled with a proper machine, proper equipment, and the trained person, right?
Well, that is part of it.
Okay,
But even if they're not trained, right?
okay.
Unless they're like really,
Really trying to
really
cause.
trying to cause something, right?
Okay.
The rate is very, very low.
Okay. Um, I'm a member of many, let's say, Facebook groups or other groups where people get together and talk about their experiences with TMS. And I'm in these groups pretty active, and I answer questions. I learn from them. I learn from patients' experience. What surprises me is that, let's say, 60% of the people, they have good experience. Their health overall is improved. The symptoms are down. Experience within the clinic was great, but the 40% of them, literally, they motivate others not to try. And I try to talk to them, explaining, "Can you please tell me what is happening?" What they were mostly saying, "Well, I even have some extremes, like, oh my God, it destroyed my life." I was like, okay, why? Well, I don't feel good anymore. I feel worse than I was before, but there was no detailed answer.
Okay.
Okay. And then I was digging deeper and trying to figure out really what's happening and if this is the experience in like local experience in that clinic or something like that. What would you think that such a high percentage of people are saying that?
I would
Best
I would
guess.
I would say again the percentage from clinical experience, it's about 20% that actually would say that, not the 40%. Okay. And I will explain it to you in a way that people might understand. Do you know the supermarket analogy?
Remind me, please.
Okay. So there are two scenarios. You're going to the supermarket and you know what you want to get, right?
Okay.
And the other possibility is you go to the supermarket and you don't know what you're going to get. Which is faster and which is cheaper?
You want me to answer?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the first choice probably
Faster or cheaper?
faster
Okay.
because you know what you wanted to buy and you're getting out, right?
Okay.
And that's it.
So let's take the third, possibility. You go there and you don't find what you are looking for. What will happen to you?
I'll go to the next store.
It's your last store.
It's my last store. I will choose a different product which may maybe replace.
I don't want to replace it.
Then I'm left with no options.
That's what happens with our patients. They come and they think that TMS is a magic wand. It is, but if you don't do changes that actually led to the depression, which is probably your lifestyle, right?
Okay.
Your way of thinking, your way of handling emotions, right? So the three things that make up a personality: emotions, thinking, and behavior. If these are not modified and you think this is the last choice and this is I've done everything, you will drop into oblivion. Let's put it that way.
I actually learned that by working with the patients in our hope treatment. That why is I was asking myself why someone is not a responder, right? And what we can do to, and then we built a list of things, and that's a lifestyle. That's exactly what you're saying. But then also I got to the patients which are how many times I need to get for TMS, and I was like, okay, let's say 34 to 36 sessions. Then okay, that's one per day. Oh, I don't have time for this. I'll just continue taking medication. You probably know what I'm talking
That's
about,
their
right?
mindset.
So
Exactly.
that's a mindset.
Yes.
And I believe that there is no way we can help if patient is not willing to change the mindset.
Not just that. Let me add something. The patient comes to you and they have a target that is not achievable. I want to get better. I want to flip my whole life. I've been depressed for 19 years and I'm going to try this only for 35 without changing any of my habits or my thinking or my emotions.
They didn't get sick in 35 days.
Exactly.
It took 20, 30 years, right?
Exactly.
So essentially, TMS is a great help. TMS is the best therapy for depression we have. Correct me if I'm wrong. For depression, definitely it works. I saw it in so many cases, but the ultimate goal is to change the lifestyle with it, right? And I'm talking about diet, I'm talking about behavior. So if we continue doing the same things, I read somewhere if you really like, if you don't like the state of mind where you're right now, you need to change the things, and you won't change. It's such a simple thing, right? And people still stick to the same thing. I even encourage some of the patients, just change the store. Don't go to this store anymore. Okay, just change something. If you go to the next store, you may meet someone who's going to change your life. Just do anything to change your life.
Again, it's all about what I can do and what I can achieve.
Okay.
If you want to achieve everything in a short time, well, if you don't put in the work, nothing will change. Now, let me just add something to that because we actually had a patient, a teenager, right? And he came in with OCD, and we did the treatments, and the patient got better and then relapsed 2 weeks later.
Uh-huh.
For me, that is unacceptable, right? So what we did was, I I had my team back home evaluate the case. So I do a little bit more digging through what I call CBT or coaching, right? We discovered was two things. So I asked for a functional MRI, and then I did the online evaluations. We found that there was a substrate in the brain that was causing the symptoms that we are seeing.
Okay.
So, and that is we chose as a team to add medication for that. I'll tell you in 2 weeks how, because we just started that.
Okay.
Now, the other thing that we did was a personality testing and an IQ test. This guy was borderline IQ. Highly, like he went through like studies, he went to, like, he started his university, but at this point of time, his IQ was the limiting factor. So again, other things that may give you the unsatisfactory results or no results is the person's personal abilities, his thinking abilities, his problem solving abilities, right?
Okay.
So that's the IQ. The personality is another thing that actually makes things more difficult.
More
Like if we
difficult.
have
Complex, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so next question. Dr. Adel, what would you think? Who is a good and who is a bad candidate for TMS? And I'm talking about depression.
So I was listening to your interview with Annie, and you know why Annie got better? Because she was into it. So again, and this is something that, because I come from Egypt, we don't have so many resources. So when a patient comes to me and they tell me I want to do TMS, I turn at least 10% of the patients who come to me, because I see that they are not doing what they need to do. They're not taking their medication on time. They are not working on their sleep, which is very important. That's another thing I do. I'm a sleep specialist, and I know how important sleep is. And to explain to people briefly how sleep is important, just see how your life was. While you were a child, you sleep most of the day.
Okay.
All right. And then the sleep gradually decreases.
Okay.
And then you have interrupted sleep. And then you have no sleep at all. That's growing old.
Okay.
And because of that, our body doesn't have the time to regenerate. Okay.
Okay.
So, having said that, if the patient is motivated and you're working with a psychologist, a coach, and they are doing what they need to do, their responses will be much greater. Again, I call TMS the kick, right? It's the kick
Okay.
that will get you up from your seat, but if you don't walk, it will not make you walk. Because walking is a choice.
Okay, so the message to everybody, so the good candidate for TMS is someone who, first of all, step in and accepts the therapy and is willing to change, is willing to follow the recipe of behavior, right? And they can expect good results. Which leads me to the next question, and that is, let's say we have a successful case. Is TMS a permanent solution? Does it require any boosting, any repeated rounds? And overall, how lasting are the benefits?
Okay, so if I would put statistics in my head, so I did over 700 patients all over the world, Europe, here, and back in Africa. So if I would put statistics, if they learn new habits and they keep on doing that, they will only need one round of TMS. Now,
Okay.
change has two things attached to it: effort over time.
Okay.
The thing that we have control over is effort. With time, it becomes part of who we are, so it becomes easier. All right. So sometimes I would say, like, especially when it's one of those harder cases, and usually I would say it's an off-label treatment, which is autism.
Mm-hmm.
We will need more sessions.
Mm-hmm.
With depression, if we're doing everything that we are doing, the rate of maintenance is decreasing, or the rate of TMS in general is
So
decreasing.
behavior, which your new behavior, or if it stays old, actually determines for how long it's gonna last the results.
Yes.
Okay. I know that you worked for MagVenture, which is one of the leading providers for TMS units. And that's basically the units which we are using in our clinics. And I know that on the market, there's plenty of others. Okay. We're not going to get into which one is better. We don't do that. But let's say we will rephrase the question as, can the type of machine uh, did affect the outcome?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, how could we say this in a non biased political way? The short answer is yes. All right. And I'll give you an example. With depression, depression doesn't come alone. All right. So, depression comes with anxiety, it comes with rumination,
Okay.
obsessive thinking. Okay. And that's something clinicians would see. If you treat depression and it's getting better, someone who has OCD will come and tell you, my OCD is worse. You know why? Because depression is better, but you did not address OCD
Okay.
or anxiety. That's why most of the clinics that do TMS, they do right side and left side treatments, because depression has a high probability to exist with other conditions like like OCD and anxiety.
Okay.
Now, some machines don't have that capability of doing right side and left side treatments because of their design, right?
Mm.
Oh yeah. And another thing that is, I can't say it's a myth, but there is a notion that I think they're going to get trouble for. Deep TMS is better than regular TMS, right? I'm sorry.
The science doesn't say that, or
Well, again, it's if you're going to think about TMS holistically, you're not stimulating a specific brain area per se. You're stimulating networks in the brain. Like in nature, they have this amazing, graph where it showed how complex the brain was. So if I'm stimulating here, and I'll give you a practical example we actually talked about. This is the mood area. Okay. So why do I move better when I get treatment? This is not the motor cortex, because it has connections to the motor
which
area.
leads to. So it's kind of like a hub, like a connection hub, maybe.
I call it the electrical grid.
Okay.
Your brain is the electrical grid.
I'll take that.
Yeah,
Okay.
you could stimulate one area, it would affect another area far away. Now, so do machines differ? Yes. Do we need to treat just depression? No, because depression does not come alone.
Okay. Thank you so much for answering that. When I first learned about TMS and my journey started treating some even off-label stuff. So the feeling which I got is there is a tool, which is a TMS unit in this case, which we are using for one thing at the moment, and I see a potential to do a million things with it. So I cannot come up with a better example at this moment. Let's say you have a spoon, right? And we have a spoon in the kitchen, and that spoon, it's only used to eat soup, chicken noodle soup, okay? But if it's a different soup, you cannot use that spoon. So that's my feeling about TMS therapy. I believe that the journey of TMS research and everything for the last 20 years actually discovered that we don't know anything, that we are just at the beginning what we can do with TMS. And my next question for you is this. Let's forget about depression. TMS is super famous for depression and I would say anxiety and let's OCD. Please take your 3 minutes and tell me what else we can do, what else you did in the open world, because here in the United States, regulations are very tight. And I know that over the seas, you did some amazing things with some amazing people. You have seen miracles, and I want everybody to hear that. Please.
Only 3
No,
minutes?
the stage is yours.
Okay. All right. So this is what I say. Why countries, third world countries like Egypt, I don't know if India is classified as a third world country, Thailand, places in Europe, we have privilege. What is that? Is that you have a tool and you have a lot of disorders and you have to make the best of this when nothing else works. So, from the culture I come from, we create things. We're thinkers. Like hell, we built the pyramids, and people don't know how we did it till date. You know, It's
Even you guys don't know.
exactly. You know, they didn't give us the manuscripts, our grandfathers. But again, we make things out of nothing, right? So, back home, it was amazing because you had a lot of cases that had no cure. One of the major ones that we did was based on the paper that I told you about, increasing blood flow and oxygen consumption rate. So it's a very fast one. So 24-year-old woman, she went to take a bath, and we have those gas lit heaters, and the exhaust was it wasn't working well, so she was exposed to carbon monoxide
Okay.
for about an hour and a half. So when you see her MRIs, she's brain dead, right? So they did the normal 80, like hyperbaric oxygen, just to increase that ability for the cells to attain the oxygen and come back to life. Nothing happened. So a colleague of mine, she came in and she was like really sad, and she goes, "There's this 24-year-old, and she's not gonna make it, Adel." And then I said, "Okay, why not do TMS and then do the hyperbaric?" And she goes, "You're crazy." And I go, "No, because there's data that supports that." So long story short, we did the treatments. My personal expectation, like I measured that on depression, right? Let's say I said there's nothing going to happen before the 30th session. When we see the video, you'll see how amazed we were, because we were able to get her on her feet in 6 days from coma, right?
Incredible.
That was a turning point. And we knew that TMS actually causes neuroplasticity. So
Yes.
when we were taught, I'm not that old, but when we were taught back in the days, they said neurons, when they die, they don't come back. That is a whole lot of BS. Excuse my French. All right. So it is possible to regenerate neurons. That's one definition of neuroplasticity, or create new connections.
Okay.
So that proved to us that nothing will stop us when it comes to injuries.
Okay.
So we did TBIs, we did CIDPs, traumatic brain injuries, let's use it, and chronic inflammatory demyelinating disorder.
Okay.
And then through our work and through our reading, we saw that TMS can, because the dorsolateral prefrontal has an immediate effect on immunity. And how do we realize that? Because depressed patients usually get sicker more than
More,
other people. That means there's a direct effect of that. So we started working with autoimmune diseases like MS, and we were able to abort MS attacks using TMS. Now, for MS, we had a really aggressive patient. She got better, but her attacks were more frequent than expected. So we kind of stopped it, but after we stopped therapy, it came back.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes us back to your point. Will people need TMS after they're done? The disorder itself tells us what to do. So if it's a neurodegenerative disorder like Alzheimer's, like Parkinson's, and we did all that, by the way, and published. These will need to, first off, you need to stop the progression. And then if you could, reverse it and then maintain it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Makes sense.
So that is the way we try to do things. So other cases that we did was, of course, autism was big.
That's a big question.
Oh, yeah.
I will ask a separate question about the autism. So let's. What I'm looking for right now from you is pain and rehabilitation.
Oh, yeah.
So guys, let me tell you. So when I saw him this time when he came to United States, he opens the door, and I think I learned everything about TMS. And he comes and he's like, I can do miracles with pain. Bring me pain patients, bring me people with pain. And I was like, okay, well, there's a pain all around, right? And Dr. Adel did sciatica pain, migraines. We have for the next week we have
Diabetic
about
neuropathy?
5, 6.
Remember
Correct.
that the diabetic neuropathy?
Correct. Oh, yes, I forgot about about the other one. The best thing of all is everybody felt better immediately after first session, which doesn't happen when you treat neurological disorders. Can you please talk a little bit about the pain rehabilitation, stroke rehabilitation, right? That's a
course.
big one, right?
Of course.
Okay, again, new 3 minutes. I'm
All
kidding.
right. So, okay. You're squeezing me with time, my friend. So basically, the magnetic fields help, again, oxygen consumption rate, and we could stimulate when it comes to rehabilitation, we could stimulate up down from the head downwards, or from down up, and that in neurology there's a loop.
So it's a different approach. It's from different sides.
So when people think we treat pain from the central area, I don't usually resort to that, because if I could control it from the peripheral, I actually stimulate more specifically the brain area that is controlling that pain. So I'm actually working on a different level, not on a holistic area, but on cellular level, like specific cellular level, by stimulation from
Using TMS
periphery.
machine.
Yes.
Okay, I saw that, and we're working on videos. We're working on results because, as you said, you guys really have privileges to to play around with this and help a bunch of people. That's amazing thing. I have a couple of questions rising just from that. The first and one of the biggest one probably for me is, can TMS treat autism?
Okay. Again, we're going to go back. We need to stop progression, reverse, maintain. Now, the things that we can do with autism, and that is published, and we actually, like I told you, we did like 200 cases, but unfortunately, after I left, we did it at the university hospital. After I left, these documents were destroyed. So, you have to take my word for it.
Okay.
I would say 80% of all autistic patients that we did would have eye-to-eye contact within 20 sessions. Why is that important? That is important because when someone looks at you, you can actually teach them.
Oh yeah, it's a very first big step, right?
Exactly. Now, I know that speech is another big thing with autism.
And one of the most complex, I would say, right?
I didn't give its chance, to tell you the truth,
Oh,
right?
okay.
But if I go and research, my brain just picks up things that people don't really, think it will work.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's doable. There's a lot of research out there that say it could be done. I haven't done it myself, so I can't give you like a solid answer.
So in other words, there is no one treatment TMS protocol which addresses autism. It's more dynamic thing, right? And it requires a different approach. So this brings me to again your privilege to try things and do things is in United States FDA approved method for depression is we have a couple of them, but they're all designed in a way of one size fits all. Okay, surprisingly enough, it works. It works good. It works good.
Okay.
It works good. However, everybody who perform those therapies, they over the time they learn what needs to be done. Just a little bit of personalization of these protocols can give much better results.
True.
So there's plenty of research done in the United States, and here we like putting names next to the treatment protocol because we are really searching for something which is uh, fits all, okay, for that disorder. So my journey led me to try MERT protocol, PRTMS protocol. Uh, we try SANE protocol, accelerated the TMS. Right now, one very popular. It's called Day One, which is basically 20 sessions in one day. So we do a lot of research here, but it seems that we are trying to have one size fits all protocol. Now, this personalization, as we realize, it's very important because we are not the same. Even the two depressed people are completely different. Not to mention the autism. Autism is a spectrum, right? So my experience is that PRTMS, led by Dr. Kevin Murphy, it's very superior idea. I see it as that because what it does, it's you measure things with EEG, you adjust the protocol every week, so it's very customizable. I'm not saying that it helps everybody, but I'm saying that that type of approach is that brain is one whole, and we treat the brain not just a symptoms or disorder. We treat the brain using very mild intensity magnetic field, right? To make it better. Now, when you said we have a privilege in Egypt to experiment, to try this and that, this and that, this and that, in United States we also do that, but it seems that we are looking for one size fits all, and that's what bothers me. That's what I believe that it's not gonna work. It's not never gonna be on that level as like professional like you, who is with patient every day and checks the symptoms every day and observe everything and adjust machines based on the you're following, right?
Yeah.
So you're doing this. It's a breathing thing. It's a breathing thing. So that's why I like your approach. This is not a question. It's more like a constatation of everything what we talk about. But tell me, please, have you had any experience with MERT, PRTMS, or any other? What do you think about this in general?
Okay. So we talked about how we treat right side and left side, right? When
Yes.
it comes to depression. We actually, Brains Clinic actually came out with a paper in 2014, I believe,
Okay.
because we were doing some work at the university and at the clinic trying to figure out what works best.
Okay.
So that is a form of personalization. Again, because we said with depression, when you get a good history, you almost always find either anxiety or obsessive thinking. So anxiety, obsessive thinking, that's personalization right there, right? So we do personalized treatments. Here's the thing. I've not worked with Mert, but their general concept is great. I have two things that don't really make sense to me.
Okay.
Why would I do a 10.5 or a 10.6 stimulation,
Okay.
right? I'm very basic, right? So when we get EEG readings, we don't get EEG readings in the 0.5, 0.3. And even if we do, they're mostly not consistent because the brain waves just, right? So is the brain sensitive to a 0.1 or a 0.2? I don't think so, but it could be. I don't have the knowledge, right? The second thing is, which is again a very gray area. Now, you said we're using low intensities, right?
Yes.
Which is the machine output. Now, for me, the only thing that I could calculate that to see if the machine is actually causing any difference is the
reaction, right?
reaction, right? Is the motor threshold,
Okay.
right? And that's why some people use something called EMG, electromyogram, and motor thresholds, which is more sensitive. So basically, you stimulate the head. When we say our observed motor threshold, you stimulate the head so the finger moves.
Okay.
Okay. Now, instead of doing that, people put electrodes, which is more sensitive to any motion, right?
Okay.
So when you stimulate the head, you get a reaction here, which you might not see. Now, that is more in depth.
Okay.
The difference between this and that is about 20 to 30%. And that's why I learned, like, this is something that made me understand why the European 5 hertz, 80% motor threshold worked. Because I cannot see it, but it's there. If I would do EMG, I would pick something up.
Because the machine can sense much less movement, right? Compared
Exactly.
to our eye and our
Exactly.
perceiving it.
So where I'm trying to say is when Mert is using a set number not corresponding to any of the personalized, the person, right? The person himself.
Okay.
That is that I could be giving treatments that don't even cross the cortex, right? It just stays at the level of the bone. It doesn't even go deeper, right? So if we're talking about personalized, motor threshold is a personalized thing. And believe it or not, your motor threshold can change from one day to the other. Okay?
Yeah, we did talk about this, and I guess my question was more like, I am very appreciative of other doctors here in the United States trying to come up with something the same way you guys do overseas, but you're also spending a lot of time in your I would say partnership or collaborative clinics in United States, right? Um, this channel which we just created, the basic idea is to raise the awareness of TMS therapy, to answer more questions, and to be there for the patient. But it's called TMS First Choice for a reason. I guess I have a dream, like a couple of other doctors, that TMS becomes the first choice for many disorders before medication and before anything else. The reason for that is because of the just side effects, which are very, very light.
Good luck with that.
Well, I know. Well, you never know, right?
No, I know.
You know that
I know.
one guy said, "I have a dream," and you know the story.
Yeah, he
about
got
him.
killed towards the
Okay.
end.
Well, True, but his legacy stayed. Okay.
Okay,
My
yes.
my whole point is I'm raising this question. I
Yes.
would like this question to be asked, and now you know, like a couple of days ago, I was reading that CDC is changing the regulation, food regulation, and so maybe there is a hope for us. Maybe someone will hear this and try. Okay, so there is a path. Let's first try something.
Natural.
I believe I
Or
gave this
yeah.
analogy as when you get cold, like in Europe, we don't try for a medication. No, we just try everything else before that, and then okay, let's take the medication. Okay,
Okay.
so that's what I would like to happen here with the TMS. I know that you like this idea as someone who devoted his life to TMS therapy, but what do you think? Like how first? Yeah, you only answer. You said probably it's not going to happen anytime soon. But what's happening in outside of America? What's happening in Europe? What's happening in Africa? Like
Well, let's start off with the US.
okay,
Why things will not happen? Okay. So, one of the major income for the United States is, you know what?
medication,
Medication,
pharmacy, right?
pharmaceuticals, right? And being a big entity makes you more influential, right? And again, we are talking about a country that strives on capitalism, right? So if you're gonna get a machine that's worth 100,000 or 200,000, and you're going to treat 300 patients, right, with it, this, of course, the treatments. How could I say this? How could I
I
say
know
this?
it's hard, but eventually the answer is
Okay, if you want, so this is the real world thing, right? But again, if you want to talk about like science, hell, like TMS is better than 2 to 5 antidepressants, maximum dose, 6 months each. You're wasting 2.5 years.
well, they even did a research. There's a paper. It's proven. Now, so that gets back
Okay.
to your
So
saying that everything is about money, it's about
yeah.
economy, right? So
So
that's the reason why. But TMS in US it's paid by insurance, okay, for
for
depression,
depression,
OCD.
OCD,
For
maybe,
OCD,
yeah,
maybe it's just
maybe,
maybe
yeah,
not so
yeah,
many carriers,
yeah.
but it's approved for so many things. So what it means, it's okay. We recognize this device can do a lot, but insurance carriers are not picking it up. Why? Because, well, I guess
Politics. Let's put it that
it's
way.
politics,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
it's more expensive at the moment, okay. But when you look at the long term, like the consumption, paying it for medication, paying it for many other things, hospitalization, right, and everything, TMS is just a small piece of it.
Thank you for
So
saying hospitalization because there was really good studies all over the world, but some studies came out of the VA saying that TMS would decrease suicidality within veterans. Now, most of the VAs have TMS, but for some reason, they're not utilized. I don't know why. I haven't worked with the VA system.
I can add something to it. I had experience with VA hospital here in Chicago area. Okay, I came there. I don't know for which reason to see someone, and I saw 3 TMS McVenture machines, and the list was like there is a waiting list. So people have been treated with TMS, and I was so happy to see that. Uh, of course, they have been treated for depression, and results were great. So what this tells us: more machines, more people.
Exactly.
Please try first to have TMS, and try to get it. Like if you go through insurance, there is one price. If you go for a cash price, actually, you can sometimes get a very nice deals and get this premium package of treatment for yourself. Okay, so that's the main topic of this channel. I know
Now,
that you and I will have never-ending questions because we like this, and I'm sure that if this is our first episode in TMS First Choice, I'm sure that you will be in that seat for the next 75 times at least. Okay.
Hopefully.
You're amazing person. You're a very
Thank you.
spiritual guy. You are a guy who's willing to help people. And through my career of working with the doctors, I recognize that not all of the doctors are like that. So I really appreciate you. I appreciate your time coming to Chicago, and it's a privilege to have you in my clinic for the next, I would say, months.
Hopefully.
One
Yep.
month, right?
Maybe
Yeah, one
maybe a
month.
little bit more.
Okay, okay, you are always welcome, and let's see how treatment of the pain patients will work out. We will also record that and post it, and let's try to open eyes of many people around here in United States. At least we do locally. I hope that we are not inviting patients. Hey, come to be treated with us. We don't do that. Just do it wherever you feel comfortable, whoever it's close to you, whichever clinic is close here, because it's convenience. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
TMS is a commitment, right? You know, more than 25 miles, it just doesn't make too much sense. And I see that TMS clinics here, at least in Illinois, they're growing,
Yes.
and technology is improving. For example, in our clinic, we have, like you said before, I believe right now we have absolutely everything, right? So we have one of the best EEGs. We have four of the best machines. We have coils. We can treat so many things, and also we just got a navigation system, which is amazing thing, where basically patient is sitting down and is watching his or her brain being treated. So I know that this is very important for everybody. It's good for motivation because we are treating neurological symptoms. We're mental, right? This is a mental health. Again, thank you so much for coming to us, and thank you for the future episodes
Yes.
of TMS First Choice.
Looking forward.
Thank you.
Thanks.